Hiya. So we're now looking at question 2, paper 1 on the Ray Bradbury Sound of Thunder. What you can do with this one is either I'll just recap on basic question stuff and you can have a go, or if you carry on watching, there's like loads of help, loads of ways of and support about how you could answer the question, what you could say. So just choose to do whatever you feel you need to do at this point in time. You've got the mini mocks, so you know, maybe go through this one easily. You've also got the one about the glass, bricks and dust, which is really weird, but did come up. And something to think about there is the idea of genre. So for the glass, bricks and dust, really you're looking at kind of fantasy genre. And again here, if we're talking about time travel, for the Sound of Thunder one, well, what sort of genre is it? Science fiction? So, and again, then you've got certain conventions you would expect from that kind of genre, which probably come into play more in, it's going to be useful in question 4. I just thought I'd mention it there. So, question 2. What you got to do? Point, evidence, explain, and zoom into language. That is it. Okay, there's loads of different ways of explaining it. Point, evidence, explain. Make sure you're linking back to the question. Make sure you are going into detailed word level analysis. Okay. AQA have suggested doing something called squeals, which is squeals. What that means, spot it. So talk about, in your point, talk about the technique. And that's what Mrs. Miles would recommend as well. So the writer uses a metaphor. Just get straight in there with language. Quote, for effect. All right, what is the effect? You have key to this question. Okay, again, like in terms of revision tips or guidance, if you take one thing about language, 2 things about language, zoom, effect. You get no marks if you don't write about the effect. And then F for explain, L for link it back to the rest of the story, what's going on. And then the S is the bit I like the most, and that's symbolise it. So we talked a while ago about contextualising, like what else is going on. Contextualising your answers is really the way to push into top band. What else is going on? And does that affect our understanding? Okay. So how does the writer use language here to describe the Tyrannosaurus Rex? You've got 10 minutes, 12 maybe, about 15 if you've got extra time and you carried some over. If you want to, pause this and go. If you want some help, well, stay right here. I am clicking on. Here you go. So there is a lovely little glossary of things you could talk about. Again, like we've looked at massive personal person, they are time and time again the things that come up: metaphor, adjectives, sentence types. Talk about sentence types. There's going to be a long one, there's going to be a short one. Talk about them. Adverbs, like what else they add in? Verbs, but more so like collections of verbs. How are they all working together? Do they change across the piece? Personification, use of personal pronouns, use of like semantic fields, especially in this one, use of extended metaphors, and then you've got other things here like your declarative, your sentence types. Oh look, spelling error. Asyndetic listing, again, you've got that here. Something fancier than not what I would do. It's very nice. So how is the T-Rex described? There. Oh. There. Look at all those. You'll have underlined these already. And again, in the exam, you'll have them on the paper. So yeah, you don't need to worry about boxing this one off because it'll be on the paper. So then there's some underlined asyndetic listing there. Oiled, resilient, striding, creates this impact. You can pause for breath. There was so much to say about it. And there's just so many different things about how it's like a machine, and that's just then. But then this idea about the tiny little hands, tiny little T-Rex hands, and I think all the way through this idea of just how very impressive it is. These are the ones that have been picked out that you could use if you are, having a bad day, and you're just like, just please tell me what to do. There you go. There's a nice little example. You can pause it and have a look. There are some nice sentence starters. So if that's what you need, again, write them down, remember them. There's nothing wrong with it. And so like here, you can say the writer makes the reptile seem machine-like, or just say the writer uses these techniques, and what's the effect? It's make it look machine-like. Now, what I've got to show you is on their mark scheme. So we're looking at the mark scheme. Spoilers, what? Here, things you could say. So we're looking at the bottom of the mark scheme. We're going to work upwards. Look at this. Tyrannosaurus, Tower 30, suggests it was bigger and higher than everything else. All right. Moving upwards, what mark would you give what you've just written? Tyrannosaurus, the writer says Tyrannosaurus towered over the jungle. The verb towered. Method suggests great height as if it's leaning over everything. Look at this. Suggests. The creature is described metaphorically as a great evil god. Suggests. And it says it here. Okay? So, there are your answers for question 2. Top tips. Number 1, zoom. Number 2, write about the effects. Include that word suggests. If that's, just remember that. Maybe even write it on your paper so you don't forget. It doesn't matter. Thinking again about, if you're stretching, that idea of contextualising your answer. But to be honest, you are amazing at analysing language. You've got no worries. You just go for it. There's always a metaphor as well. Notice there is always a metaphor. Yeah, good luck.